You are now listening to the Highly Evolved Podcast with your host, Safan. Transmission will commence momentarily.
How you guys doing? This is the Highly Evolved Podcast. My name is Safan. Before we start, I just want to say this is a Real American Patriot channel. It's for real American patriots. If you are a Marxist, Socialist, Democrat, Communist, please exit the channel. This channel is not for you. And on that note, guys, let's start the show. This show, I want to bring you about what happened in Denver, Colorado. Right? Another shooting happens, right? And it's very suspicious. I just want to tell you how suspicious I am about this. But before we get to my suspicion, I want to read you this article that came out from Summit News. All right? I'll link the article in the description below if you want to read it. But let me read this, the developing story on the shooting in Denver, Colorado, right? It's so reminiscent of what happened in Columbine in 1999. And Columbine just had their 20 years anniversary, if you aren't aware of that. But let me read this article. It says, STEM school shooter hated Christian and Trump. Okay, you're not going to find this in the news. All right, let me read this. All right. 19-year-old Devin Erickson, who killed one student and injured 7 more during a shooting at a public charter school in Colorado, previously posted in social media about his hatred for Christians and President Trump, right? So that's a red flag right there. So it's filling that narrative that Christian, the most ridiculed group of people, are the most hated bunch of people in the world are Christian, right? It's obviously, right? They're the most persecuted. Christians are the most persecuted people in the country. In the world, let's say that, and President Trump supporters, right? Just because they support the president. Eric and a younger accomplice walked into a STEM school, Highland Ranch, yesterday and opened fire on student in 2 classes. Right? I made a video about this yesterday. Like, please don't let any more school shooting happens. You could look at my previous video. I said it before this happened. Right? I was like, if this is a good week, if another school shooting won't happen, please, God, right? I was praying, like, please don't let it happen. What happened? This popped up later in the day. I was like, the darnest thing that happens, all right? But let's continue. While the motivation behind the attack remained unknown, according to Heavy Erickson, according to Heavy, there's an underlined word. Erickson was a leftist who, despite Christian and opposed Donald Trump. Quote, you know what I hate? This is Erickson post, right? You know what I hate? All these Christian who hate gays, yet in the Bible it said, Deuteronomy 17, 12, 13, if somebody does not do what their priest tells them to do, they are supposed to die. It has plenty of crazy stuff like that. But all they get out of it is ew, gays, unquote. Erickson wrote on Facebook 2 years ago. All right. He also shared a video of a comedian, Seth Meyers, attacking Donald Trump and another post praising Barack Obama. See, this is how leftist thinks. This is a leftist attacking. We'll get into my speculation later after this article. The shooter appeared to be into a goth and grunge aesthetics, writing, quote, I am covered in ink and addicted to pain, unquote. It shouldn't matter what political ideology a school shooter has unless the ideology was a motive to behind rampage, which is the left ideology. Left ideology is very violent. The ideology is by any means necessary. When they say by any means necessary, it means create violence. That's what it is. And it's very toxic. The left ideology is a toxic ideology. They don't know that. All right? However, whenever such a tragedy occurred, the left rushed to find the gunman Facebook page in an effort to blame conservative. When the photo emerged of Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz wearing a MAGA hat, the massacre was politically weaponized. Right? Yesterday's STEM school shooter served as a reminder that there are lunatics in both fringes of the political spectrum, and their actions should not be cited and demonized of innocent people. End of article. That's saying, like, the shooter saying that shooter are, you don't know what the ideology is. So there's the French minority on both sides, right? But what come to my speculation, right? How suspicious this is, right? Suddenly this news isn't as major as it was to anything else, right? When they found out the guy was a leftist, now fake news is burying it. They're onto the next subject, the next distraction, and the next distraction. And I want to know that this is from Denver and in Colorado. If you don't know Colorado is a very liberal city, and is a city that's very entrenched with occultic meanings, Illuminati. When you look at the Colorado flag, it have an eye pyramid on it. All right, it's heavily entrenched in masonry. The Denver airport is heavily Masonic. All right, and there's another theory about the Columbine shooter is that his parent was working with a defense contractor, right, in military. So if you don't know that they have a lot of ties to CIAs and all this stuff. So this might be so Columbine is probably an operation. If you don't remember, Columbine happened during the Clinton administrations. The Clinton administrations have a lot of tie to all these occultic practices and all these deep state things, right? So when it happened during the Clinton administration, you got a question: was this a setup to perpetuate this agenda of gun control, or it wasn't? Okay, because during that time it was the exit of Bill Clinton, and they tried. I don't want to get to any theories, but I'm analyzing things right now. This is analyzing. They wanted the term conspiracy theory come from the CIA in the 50s to discredit people who want to think for themselves. That's what the term conspiracy theories come from. It's a way to discredit people, to make them seem crazy. All right. What you want to say is analyzing. These are the people that they label as conspiracy theorists. They're actually analysts. They're analyzing the situation. They're not coming up with this theory, right? These people who analyze this thing, they didn't come up with the theory. They're just analyzing it, and they're labeled them as conspiracy theory, right? Which is a psyop created by the CIA to discredit people who, from the ability to think for themselves. They label them as tinfoil hat wearing, try to make them goofy, but it's not. All right, there's a difference. There's a distinction between theorists and analysts. All right, what I'm doing right now, I'm just analyzing things. All right, why was this kid and to make it reminiscent of Columbine? Right, there were two kids involved in the shootings. All right, two kids was apprehended, same like Columbine. Columbine, two kids, but with this situation, they didn't kill themselves. Right, they were apprehended by law enforcement. And when you look at the picture, a slew of law enforcement came to the school, right? So it shows you that Denver or Colorado is a heavily police state. All right, it's a liberal state. It's heavily police. If you don't know, another thing that came out in the news in Denver that same day, three things happened in Denver. Three big things happened in Colorado. Right? They were talking about the legalization of hallucinogenic mushrooms. The Denver Nuggets was playing that time, and they won. They beat Portland, and this happens. All right? When you look at it in gematria, my channels also touch on the subject of gematria as well. If you don't know what gematria is Jewish mysticism that solve riddles by linking letters and numbers into words. Right? Is numerology. Let's say that, right? But I digress on that. But three things happen, and these three things happen might have some kind of connections, right? Might have some kind of connections. So, back to the shooter, right? So I'm guessing this might be a psyop right now. I'm not saying it's fake. People actually dies, right? But they're like a patsy, right? These guys might be patsies. Because look, he's an 18-year-old. So he's probably a former student as well. And how did these kids get weapons? If you know, Colorado upon what happened in Columbine, Colorado took strict measure to deny guns. They're a hard place to get guns, I think. Right? Don't get me wrong. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think the law in Colorado is more stricter than it was before when it comes to guns. When it comes to firearms. All right, so how do these kids get the firearms? You got to ask. All right? And to make matters worse, I've been stressing this a lot. Why aren't a city official putting armed guards at every school now, especially in places like Denver or Colorado, right? When you think that they would put cops in every school now, right? That's the solution. We need to have policemen in every school, right? Don't tell me you don't have the budget. We have the budget. So we have the budget to pay all these politicians, but you can't have the budget to put armed enforcement in schools, all right? That's just the solution. It's a deterrent from anything like this from happening in the future. All right, we should have our armed enforcement and armed policemen. I mean, not policemen, armed enforcement and armed teachers. That's what we should have. That's a solution for this. It's a deterrent. We should not be having this idea of taking guns away. You want to fight fire with fire, all right? And that's what happened in these gun-free places, churches, schools, events, all right? Mass places like this where people can congregate, there should be a guard in everywhere to go. All right, it's just for safety measures. If there's armed guard at banks, if there's armed guards at banks, financial facilities, why shouldn't there be armed guards at public events, at schools, at churches? Why shouldn't there be? There should be. It's a deterrent from keeping these bad hombres from coming in. All right, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. All right. And Denver, Colorado is a very Masonic state. All right. FYI, a park in Denver, Colorado was once a cemetery they paved over. So if you go to Denver, you go to this one specific park. I forgot what's the name of the park. Right. You go to this one specific park. There's ghost activity happening in Denver. All right. It's the most haunted park out there. All right. It's the actual cemetery that they dig out the grave. They dig up the bone and made it into a park. So that's a FYI. To let you guys know about the history of Colorado. Colorado got some crazy mystery. If you don't know what the word Colorado means, Colorado, the state, is named after, it's a color red. I think it's probably a connection to the red rock over there, like all the red rocks in Colorado's. Yeah, it's very suspicious. All right, I'm analyzing here. So it might be a psyop that they're doing. They try a psyop, but you know, the fake news is burying it right now because they're finding out that the gunman is actually a liberal and hate Donald Trump. And if they're gonna push this thing, it's gonna be a worse message for them to counter. It's counterproductive to their message. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so yeah, the guy's a leftist. He's not a Trump supporter. All right, start killing people for no dang reasons, and you got to analyze these things. You just can't take everything in face value. All right. And this article, I'll link it in the description below if you guys want to check it out. But on another, let me guys know what you think. You think this murder is senseless? You think there should be armed guards at every school now? All right. You think there should be armed guards? You think we should arm teachers? You think because this is a reason to take our rights away? All right. You think if people were more armed, there would be more survivors? Let me know what you think. Are you for freedom? Are you a socialist? All right. To let you guys know, this channel is not monetized. It's demonetized. That means Google is not supporting me. I'm not taking any donations for anybody. I'm doing this for passion. I'm doing this to make people aware of reality. What reality they're living in right now, right? That's the point of this channel. What reality they are living in right now, and they have to analyze everything that's been shown to them. Don't just take everything at face value. Analyze everything. All right. We're not theorizing. We're analyzing. Don't get those two mixed, right? Because Google's not monetizing, I'm unrestricted, unrehearsed, unedited, and unscripted. So whatever I say is not bound by any outside interference, all right? So if you like what I do, please follow me on social media, Twitter, gab.ai. And I'm not taking on donations. I'm doing it for free, for the passion. I just want to, and I love America so much. And I'm willing to work free for freedom, guys. And on that note, guys, subscribe. Try to wake up everybody to reality. And yeah, this is the HighlyEvolved Podcast. My name is Stefan. I'll check you guys in the next broadcast. On that note, guys, I'm signing out. Peace.